Lovely. It was 24 hours actually that I just, I got it at 2 o'clock on Thursday a week ago. And by about 2 a.m. on Friday night, I was kind of the stuff that we're reading about. I was achy and I kept telling my husband, I felt like I had expanders in my neck that were trying to get out, and my back and my legs and my muscles and bones. And that was what it felt like for me. But I hope that knowing that it took about a day, and drugs helped, and it gave me hope. Like, it's doing what it's supposed to do, and feeling really grateful that is behind me.
Okay. Just kind of taking a little survey. Mine's coming next week, but I'm also supposed to go on an airplane someplace. And so I'm like trying to decide what to do. Anyway, so.
Nikki, which vaccine did you get?
Moderna.
Okay.
I'll let you guys know how I fare.
Mm-hmm. I had my first one and I was fine. It just a soreness, yeah. But the second one is the one that, anyway.
About a week, about 8 or 9 days after my Moderna, I got like this really big like welt on my arm from where they gave me the shot, and then like this rash. And I guess it's pretty common. I read about it, and so it went away in about 48 hours, but it was really weird because it was so far after the vaccination.
I had to drive out to Brooklyn Center for mine. I just grabbed the first one that was available since they all evaporated so quickly. And so it's a Walmart in Brooklyn Center, which for me is about a half an hour drive. And then it was a little frustrating because they ask you for all this information up front, and then they called me for exactly the same information again. And anyway, but while I had her on the phone, I said, because I got the Pfizer there, and then she said, I said, well, since it was far enough away from my second dose, if I find a place that's closer to where I live, how do I let you know I won't be there? Because they nicely set you up right there. And then she comes back and she goes, well, our pharmacist said that we're the only ones doing Pfizer. And I thought she meant like the only Walmart, but there's like that vaccine finder and you can select by the type of vaccine. So I put in Pfizer and I put in 25 miles from my zip code. And sure enough, there were like two places. There was that Walmart, and then I think someplace in Stillwater. So there's this Twin Cities Vaccine Hunter Facebook group that provides all this like insider information. So, and of course, as soon as I post that, then, like all these people are going, I got it here, but I got Pfizer here, but they're not any closer. Like they're, if anything, farther away from Brooklyn Center. So I don't know what the distribution is, but I don't care. I'll drive back. I know some people that are, somebody from the Twin Cities drove to Crookston. People are going to North Dakota. They're flying places to get it. And I don't know, but like this week, when it rains, it pours, because like every day now I'm getting emails going, your name was picked for this, the university's offering this, so I think we're on the other side of it, or hoping we are. Are all of you guys vaccinated though? You already have yours? Oh, so Sarah, you don't?
No, because I'm not out of school. So yeah, I'm just in my house.
And you're a youngster. It's all relative, honey. It is all relative.
In this case, yes. I mean, I might, yes.
Wow. A parent of a parent flew back from Florida to get the vaccine. Wow. Well, hi everybody. It's wonderful to see you all. I've got the tape rolling. Sounds like we're making a video. Oh, we are. So here we are. We have got warmer weather. Is that affecting your programs? But mostly, I want to turn I did find the video, but I'm going to save that because there's no need to talk about it right now. But I want to turn to Ellen. Oh, and there's her kitty. I posted something on Facebook that I had seen where it was like this this angel devil for kitties, and it was just like, interrupt the Zoom, and it'll interrupt your meeting. And it was like the devil, and then the little angel kitty was going, interrupt the Zoom. The people on Zoom will love it.
And I said that will happen today. And we're not 10 minutes into the meeting and here she is. I was gone all morning. She needs me. So my question after everybody left last week is, how are your family literacy programs doing? And I ask that because ours is completely dead. It has been dying a slow death for the past 3 years, I'd say. When I came to Northfield 5 years ago, we had a 3-day week program, and then after a while it went down. They stopped coming. Then it was a 2-day week program, and then we were still trying to run it just 2 days, and then it went to just a 1 day a week with only Spanish speaking families. Our EA, we had some other families besides Spanish speaking coming, but our EA kept speaking Spanish to the Spanish speaking families, and I kept saying, like, we need to not be speaking Spanish. We need to be speaking English, because our Chinese families don't want to hear English. And our, we had a family from Kuwait, like, they want to hear English. They don't want to come here and hear Spanish. So I don't know if that is why, but then even when we had it for Spanish speaking families only, so now we have 0 families coming to our family lit program. So I'm curious what you're doing to build it up. How you're keeping in contact with those families, what you're doing, if other people are experiencing the same. So I just, opening up that discussion. And
So I have a question, but not an answer, and that is, Ellen, is your family literacy program in collaboration still with Adult Basic Academics? So, I mean, would the families be coming from there and bringing their kids to, like you were describing, like a 4-day or 5-day sort of program, or what? Okay.
It used to be. We used to collaborate with Adult Basic Ed, and then they started an English classes at the church right across the street from the trailer park, and those are doing very well in the evenings. So, and a lot of our moms have gone back to work too, but I don't know. I feel like more could be done. But yes, we and ABE is right down the hall. So we do have that ability to collaborate. We just haven't for over a year.
I think having that ABE connection, I mean, that's one of the roots of family school. You've got the 4 components. So you've got to have that. So I think the first piece is by getting them to get back on board. And even if that's with the church across the hall, that's fine, or across the street, I should say, that's fine, because it's still ABE, it's still Adult Basic Ed. So you want to, I don't know what you want to do. That's what I would recommend, is making that stronger connection. We have we have 3 family literacy classrooms in our district, 2 at one site, 1 at another, and we still have a waiting list of people who want to get in. And we're just, 30 miles north of you? So, Christy knows more about this than I do, so just don't put me on.
I was going to say not even 30 miles. I mean, I can be in Rosemount in 15 minutes.
Okay, yep. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? So I only worked in Edina for 4 years, but I don't think they had either of these programs, family literacy or adult basic ed.
I don't think
Can
so either,
somebody-
Sarah. And I was there.
Yeah, and Shelley was there long before me. So Can somebody tell me what we're talking about here?
Sometimes ABE will be kind of farmed out. Like community ed will provide some funding to other agencies that are doing ABE. At least that's what happens here in Duluth. They partner with somebody else who does it. So maybe your district isn't necessarily the host of it always.
What is it though?
Adult basic education. So it's helping people get their GED, or if they want a diploma, just helping them learn English, just really help them set some goals for their education, wherever they're at.
And there's,
Does that seem right?
Yep, and there's 4 components to family literacy. You have the adult basic ed ELL pieces. you have an early childhood component, you have a parent education component, and then you have parent-child interaction. And in order for it to be a true family literacy program, it has to have all four. And so for us, parents come with their, I mean, on a non-pandemic day, let's look at it that we have, it's 4 days a week. Kids come all 4 mornings, and it's 2.5 hours with the kids. In that 2.5 hour period, the parents have a half hour of interaction time. They have parenting 1 day a week, or which is 1 hour a week. And then the rest of the time, the parents are in their adult basic ed or English classes or doing independent learning in that way. And so it is a collaboration, you're right, with ABE. And so where are those resources in your community, and how do you connect in with that?
And I think, I mean, you know, we've all been in this for a lot of years, but in a lot of the districts that I've seen family literacy come and go a couple of times because there were grants to put it together, and then the grants went away. So then, and it's really heavily relationship based with the people you collaborate with. So if people don't get along and there's territory issues, then it's just going to go away. And you really have to have that full on mission partnership to reach the families and to keep them there. It's kind of tough sometimes.
One of the things that that has kept our I mean, we do get along, and there's bumps in the road, but the pre-pandemic data showed that the benefit to ABE programming by collaborating with us was huge. So students who attend family literacy or ECFE along with ABE or as part of it had triple the level gains in English, and had like double the attendance, and that's money in an ABE program because they get funded by the number of hours they deliver per student. So I'm not sure everyone always realizes that or knows that, but selfishly, like our ABE program is like, oh yeah, bring it on, because those are the students who do so well in our classes.
Well, and now if there's no families in the program, then funding for next year is going to be really bad because, right. So I just don't know. Yeah, I just don't know if I need to fight for it or somebody else needs to fight for it. I sort of feel like, I mean, there was a robust program for a long time, but
there's also no structures at the state level for this. Zero, none.
Well, that doesn't help, does it?
So Ellen, are families coming to the ABE classes and they just aren't, they don't have the parent-child interaction component and the parent ed component? I'm just wondering, like, has ABE in your district declined, or is it just this collaborative piece with ECFE? What are the numbers of people who are seeking GED or these sorts of things in the ABE program in your district, respectively, right?
And I can't even answer that, Nikki, because I haven't talked to ABE. For a long time, they weren't even meeting. They weren't even we moved buildings this summer. And I know their space was really chaotic for a while. And I never see anybody in there. So I don't know if it's their nighttime. They have a lot of nighttime families, or if they're, I honestly don't know. It's possible the numbers are down along with the collaboration sort of loss, because last year, right before COVID, we only had 2 moms coming with 3 kids, and you know how painful it is to do an hour and a half of programming with 2 moms and 3 kids. Blech.
We in Wilmer have kind of done like similar districts where you get a grant, they have a program, we get going, and then we lose the money, and then we, just when we're starting to be known and the families are looking for the service. And that in itself, I think, is so aggravating, because the whole nature of family literacy is trying to build trust and help families know we're going to be there for them, and then we aren't, because they're typically family literacy families are a little suspect or a little scared of school or didn't have a good experience. So our ABE program found some funds, and we restarted in January. And our program was really scaled down from what Karen talked about. We only had 1 day a week, but it was the same. We had all 4 components. And, you know, they loved being there, and we saw gains, you know, but it's just so sad because then again, we just are getting going. Pandemic happened. Our ABE program is still mostly on Zoom because, like somebody else had said, families are liking it. And the attendance, ABE teachers that I've talked to, their attendance is way better when they can go on Zoom. So what our director has done is we funneled some of the funds that from this grant that we got for family literacy into doing ECFE on the go boxes. And, but they don't, you know, the to-go boxes are really much more focused on parenting, parent-child interaction, and child think there is no ABE component in them. We just got permission to use the funds that way from the grant people. So it's kind of sad as I think about it, because we were making progress. The one positive is we have one family we've gotten permission to use some of those family lit dollars that were not used to buy bus passes. And she's going to come to one of our regular classes. But all of you know that can be interesting because it's a different dynamic when you try and integrate. So we'll see how it works, because I'm not sure. The mom has special needs herself. So she'll bring a different dynamic to our parent ed discussions, but at least we're going to get her and the kids here. So we'll see.
Your question, Ellen, is it your role? And I go back to, what are the needs in your community? What do your families need? What do you notice? And if there's a need, then you decide, do I take that on? But knowing that when you take that on, it's a lot of collaborating with a lot of people to make it happen. And you are one piece of that puzzle, and if you need the other pieces, you need to kind of get them to jump on board with you on that. But yeah, go back to, what are the needs in your community? You can do it. And Lorraine mentioned too, that there are different ways to do it. I mean, it could be 1 day a week, it could be nice, it can be a lot of different things, but the main piece is it's got to have the 4 components. That's it.
Well, thanks, guys. I just didn't know if it was a pandemic thing or if it was just down everywhere, or if the needs aren't there. Yeah. So thank you for letting me pick your brain. That's all.
And last week, we started talking about this just at the point that everybody had to leave, but Carrie was on, Carrie Yuso, and she was sorry she couldn't join us because I mentioned that we could start this today, and she was really sorry that she couldn't be with us today because she really is devoted to family literacy, and she offered some good information and support to Ellen. So if this is a topic that you're interested in, I would also suggest reaching out to Carrie, or we can continue the conversation when she's back. So what's else going on, you guys? Anything else that you'd like to bring to the group, or the group can help you with? Anything to celebrate?
Can I share that Heather Klein reached out to me? Their students need hours. And so she was looking for districts that are still offering online parent education or virtual parent education. She's looking for people to like video record, and then so that the students can watch and get their hours that way. And my people were like not responding. So my guess is they're kind of feeling tapped out, which I totally get. So I said, well, I can bring it up to this group and see if anybody here would be interested in contacting her or offering up your, and there's like gift cards involved. So it's not like you're doing it for free. So I just said I would bring it up to this group if any of you are still doing that and interested. So, and I said, I think you should contact 196. I think they're doing it. So I did my
So
job.
I would have to be in touch with my, I have a co-facilitator for one of my classes that it's a kind of a expanded age. I would say like it's around 1 year old, like an 11 to 20 month group that because they are hybrid, they are half of them are virtual and half of them are on site. We record every session and we have them all. So it wouldn't mean recording more, it would mean handing them over, but I don't know that that is something that the families would be okay with. So it would mean going back to my facilitator that I work with and then having some conversation with the families. But I just thought I would put it out there that we're sitting on many recorded sessions right now.
And I missed,
Yeah, I'm sure Heather would love that.
I missed a little bit what you said because somebody came in, I had to talk, but I'm not, as of spring semester, I won't have any all virtual, but I have a lot of hybrid, which is what Nikki was just talking about, where I will have a Zoom component to that class each week. You know, and I'd be happy to have someone, you know, join via Zoom. I would obviously have to get it approved, but there would be that opportunity.
I have one class.
You're muted.
I thought I hit it. I had one class that I asked, I was like, yeah, would you guys mind if I recorded the class for some student teachers? And they were like they just didn't, and this is 100% in person. This is a class of 6. And so I asked, I thought this is like one of my, you know, but they did not like the idea of themselves being recorded and then sent away. Yeah.
I
have a newborn class.
I
that
might
they
have
can log in on.
misunderstood. Is it that the students want to watch a recording or is it that they want to participate in the group? I might have misunderstood that.
I mean, maybe both. I think she was more interested in just getting recordings so that they could learn, they could watch, you know, sort of asynchronously when it worked in their student life schedule. But I put Heather's email in the chat, so she would be happy to hear from somebody. But yeah, you definitely want to get permission from your co-teachers and your parents. But thank you.
Yeah, personally, I haven't heard anything about it, just to clarify, because I know in the teaching methods course, students do observations, but then they're really struggling, of course, doing student teaching placements. And that's technically where students really need hours. And so there's probably a certain, and you all did student teaching, so you know this way better than I do. But we're still early enough in the semester that my guess is that they need a certain amount of observation time that they can log for those hours. And I really don't know what placements have been looking like this spring for any kind of consistency for the students, but use the email that Jen put in, don't put in mine. I put in the wrong one. So yeah, so it's Klein 048. And I think at this point, Heather would be really happy to hear from anybody for anything so she can kind of put together as much of a quality experience for the students as possible. And just as an FYI, many of you went, as you might have gone through, were part of classes of, say, 12 or 15. I think that there's something like 28 students that are going through student teaching now. It's just like that bump going through the snake. So, and of course, right, if we had to have a big class, it would be now during COVID. So.
Yeah. Do any of them live up north?
Probably.
That's exciting. It's exciting to hear that there's a good number of students coming through. That's super exciting.
Yeah, and actually, this is probably a benefit. I mean, as we look at pros and cons of COVID, because we've had a few students up north, and I'm talking like Ely, Three River Fall, like that to be able to do their student teaching placements, they were like driving 30 miles in one direction, and so yeah. So this way, if they can do it online, that's better. So, but thank you so much, Jen, for bringing it up. I'll bring up one. This is like not a. It's a well. Anyway, so I've been in contact with Menafee about the Menafee conference, and I, since we had done this September workshop, and then a lot of folks from that workshop were familiar that we were doing the Perfect Connections things. And then our Friday meetings, are coinciding with when Menafee happens. So anyway, so too detailed of a story, shorter, is we've sort of negotiated or proposed that the workshop session before the lunch break on Friday, that an option for folks could be to join our meeting. But what we would do is, rather than meeting at noon, we would meet at the time that coincides with with that workshop session, which I think might be 11:30. I mean, you guys know this better than I do. Anyway, so it would just be like, I would share the Zoom link, they would put it in the calendar or in the program, and then we would continue to meet as we normally would, if and don't feel like you have to be here if you're going to be at a workshop or something. But and then other people who are at the Menafee conference could join us if they want to during that workshop time. And then what I'm looking for with that is, again, just sort of exposing more professionals to the Ellen, what was it that you said a few weeks ago about joining and it being like this surprise, like you have this you get surprising gift from participating each week, somehow, anyway. So anyway, so that's it. Yeah, anyway, it was lovely. I should have written it down.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll come to me.
It was really nice.
Oh,
so
dang
I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that would work? And then I figure if it gets to be too big, like if there's a lot of, because I don't know how many Menafee draws, like we could do, a couple breakout rooms, and then I would ask, one of you or two, depending on how many, just so that we're not trying to do it with 50 people. And then, but we could have, like subgroups. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that would work? Menafee people, Menafee conference people, what do you think?
I just know by Friday, everyone is pretty fried. And I'm just wondering if people are going to be, because it's all via Zoom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking if we do something, it would need to be something interactive and kind of, like it'd have to be kind of fun, but something like, because that's the last thing, right? That's the last.
That's right. They don't even have a lunch then after that, do they?
Mm-mm.
Or, okay.
I'm just thinking like it would have to be something really like, woohoo.
Woo! Ellen?
We could dance.
Just being here.
It might be kind of a fun way for people to be able to share what they gained over the conference. I mean, what are the highs or the ahas that you're going to be taking with you? Kind of a, in this format, that might be aha-ing and dancey enough, kind of, if we can figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, like a conference reflection.
Uh-huh. It might not be exactly what we do here, but we can say that. I mean, we can do a little bit of both.
Mhm.
And
Well, and I'm sure the topics, if people are reflecting on, I went to this workshop yesterday afternoon and it was really great because of this, or it was really controversial because of this or whatever, we would talk about stuff like that.
you could, it might be kind of complicated. I was gonna say, it's probably too complicated to break them up into what group do they want to be a part of discussing. Like, if you want to share from this, you went to this one, or this one, then you get into one of those groups specifically. I don't know, that's maybe too hard.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. It seems a little complicated.
Well, yeah, because I see this as a partnership between what we do every single week and the format of Menafee. And if it fit the bill for Menafee to offer this as an option, then we would. But I don't want to put work into orchestrating something. I don't know. Christy, what do you think?
Jump in. Karen and Shelley can attest to this, but I talk about this group as like something I if I miss it, it's just sad. So what I like about this group, and this is just me speaking for myself, is the open, unstructured, relational nature of the conversation. People bring in their true selves and what they're working with and what's on their minds. And so for me, inviting people to have that experience would be the goal in itself. That's just me.
And maybe along those lines, just encouraging people to find their peeps. Put your peeps in the Jeep, as Greta said way back in fall. But really, I mean, and maybe it's just you connect with the parent educators in a 50-mile radius of where you work, or you connect with the early child, you know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes it's just, and then that rapport, just like any parent ed class, is built over weeks of meeting. And so maybe that's what we talk about. We kind of talk about why this is important. It's kind of like my Friday therapy, you guys. But yeah, maybe just really making sure that everybody finds somebody that before they leave the conference to connect with. And maybe the way you do that is you change your name to be like where you are located. So for instance, I would rename myself to Northfield. I'm doing it right now. So that people see, oh, Northfield, hey, that's close to me. That's within a 50-mile radius. And so then in the chat, we can encourage people to, hey, I want you right now to find 2 people who are close to you, especially if you feel like you don't have peeps in your Jeep. I don't know, that may be something, kind of that map that you did, Susan. Maybe you could do that map thing again where you have everybody map where they are.
And you could encourage using the chat, putting the things down and people copying the chat so that they can get back to.
And exchanging emails with each other. Because I think perfect connections, right? This is all about connecting with people. And so maybe the last part of that is just making sure that everybody has a buddy that they go home with.
Along with that perfect connections, you do have the reason you're using the word perfect and, to share that somehow, let people know what that perfect means. It's not because we're perfect people.
Right.
No. Right. But the reason and the rest.
Okay. Well, thanks.
I like the idea of having the locale as a web, but I love hearing from Duluth and from Wilmer and from all over. That gives me a perception of things that I don't get. And I need that for me. That's my personal perspective.
I totally agree, Karen. But for some people, it may feel too big and they
Right.
may want to start on a smaller scale.
I understand. Mhm.
And I think all the more why Ellen's idea of like put your locale and your first name so that you can be like, oh, there's someone who's also in the West Metro, but boy, they got some really cool things going on at this other. So for future, when like might be able to connect with them.
Yeah, and I think that, again, my primary thing is I love you all and I love doing this, and I'm really glad we all have started this and we're continuing it. And I just want to expose more people to this so that if they're able to join us, they get a sense of what it is, and that it isn't, it's different than most stuff because you do just hang out and talk, right? And but there are also folks that can't join us on Fridays, which brings up that possibility of doing it twice a week, but with not me. I mean, I would do it. I don't know, but I just, I just want to, like, we could do, if there was interest to do another day of the week and somebody else wanted to facilitate, because I don't know if I could be there both days of the week and everything. Anyway, so, but I think the other thing is what Menafee does do, and I've heard this for years, is that sense of connection, right? It's that one time of the year when I go to St. Cloud and I'm walking through the convention center and I see either it's my time to connect with other people in my district or other people in my region that I don't get a chance to the rest of the year, or I really feel like I connect with other professionals, right? And so it's possible that even from the day and a half or whatever that Menafee will go, that people still won't get those connections as well or whatever. But if they join us on Friday afternoon, because we're more informal, and if people do relabel themselves with their location, then they'll make that connection, and then we'll do the extra thing. So a little bit different than we do every week. But I would ask that everybody put in their email addresses and then relabel themselves with the location. And we could do the Google Map thing. I mean, that would be easy to do, right? And then, so then people would leave with that sense of connection of other people and contact information for other people in their area if they wanted to continue. But for me, again, the big thing is that they would leave with a better understanding or an understanding what we do on Fridays at noon. Right, so that if they could or wanted to join us or watch one of the recordings or something like that. Jen, I know. Well, and I learned the spotlight thing, you guys. Like, I completely surprised one of my students by all of a sudden one of the students was like full face on the thing, and I said, oh, sorry, I was just playing around with the spotlight because I learned how to do it for my friends. I'm just laughing at.
It could get really fun, actually.
Yes. Do you all know how to rename yourselves? Yeah.
It's great for breakout rooms to have people rename themselves
with
a number, a color, or whatever.
And we have a person, the owner of the meeting can rename other people.
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes we run into problems with Chromebooks and things like that. Devices sometimes aren't as friendly and it's not as easy. But in general, most of the time it's pretty simple.
So I asked a question in the chat about fall catalogs, and I was doing a little bit of research for my own purposes around what catalogs are looking like for the fall was my goal. And I started to poke around and realized there aren't a lot out. Although Edina's is out for the fall, I was looking to compare and wasn't able to find much in the way of what people are offering for the fall. And it dawned on me that that's really reasonable because people are going sort of a quarter at a time, even if they never have. A lot of school districts, I think, are doing that now just so that they can stay nimble with what they offer relative to like COVID restrictions and family interests and all of that. So yeah, thanks for your comments. So Nikki said hers is out. Not till late
Sarah, I'm
summer.
curious what Edina's offering. Are they bringing any of you back? Are they offering ECFE?
Well, Shelley, they are
I live there, so I'm
offering,
like, I'm invested in the community too. It's good for the community. It's good for my house.
they are offering 24 ECFE classes in the fall for parents of 0 to 3-year-olds and their kids. It's a narrowed catalog from certainly from the heyday.
Yeah.
Sarah, just a quick follow-up. Have you heard anything back from your amazing communication to the school board?
No. I've heard, well, that's not entirely fair. I've heard, I got an automated response from the school board's inbox acknowledging receipt. And I've exchanged, I had a phone conversation with one school board member who called me about it. But that is not the school board member whose job it is to be paying attention to the early learning center. And I haven't heard anything from the district leadership. And what else to say about that? So you know that our union is in mediation with the district leadership about the grievance that they filed on our behalf due to our layoffs in August. And what I understand is that whether or not this makes sense, the people I'm waiting to hear from are not responding because of the mediation, and they feel that that's unresolved. And so, I mean, this is a little bit of a story I'm putting together. So they're waiting for that to resolve before they, theoretically, before they do anything else with the early learning center, I guess. But in the meantime, Shelley, the catalog for next year has come out, and it's about 1 3/4 time PE parent ed job and 1 and 2 maybe half-time parent ed jobs, down from a total of 5 parent educators. Well, actually 6 if you include Brenda, who's the one full-time person still there.
It's still there, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a much smaller program. And the other thing that I wrote about in the letter was that we had a flourishing adult ed for parents and caregivers program that is absolutely gone now, all gone. So yeah, so no, I haven't heard anything. Thanks for asking, Susan.
Are they still going to get funding? That's the part I don't quite understand, is like, if you get funding, you have to use it. So
That's a great question, Christy, and I would be really concerned about it if it was my job to be held accountable for that.
it's just confusing. Doesn't make any sense.
One of the things that I know has been talked about is, and the reason I went to do this research about other districts, 2 reasons, one personal, one for this. The reason that we're around the advocacy work is because the one of the official positions is that this is hard for all districts right now, and no one, like, it's hard for everybody right now to run ECFE programs, and they're all getting smaller. And I feel like I'm not sure that that's actually true. And thank you, Sarah, Rich, and thank you, everybody. And so I thought, well, I'm gonna, maybe if I decide to like put more time and energy into this, I'll make another chart based on some research that I do about courses, classes, catalog offerings that include parent ed that could be called ECFE classes in our districts near us, that our district, Edina, loves to compare itself to when it works, and say how different they are when it doesn't. And I hit a dead end because I was looking to compare next the fall catalog against other districts' fall catalogs, and they're just not out yet. Because all of you are doing still like adjusting your spring program nimbly in response to families and COVID and everything.
Sarah, I can say that we are planning on going back to full calendar as we did a year, or it'll be, from 2019.
Yeah.
The plan is that's going to be almost essentially the exact same calendar from 2019. So
that's
I
great
don't
to
know if that
hear.
helps.
Oh, that's super helpful. And maybe it's just a matter of weeks and waiting for all the stuff to come out, and then we can call it what it is, but it's just not available quite yet officially. So
that's what we're planning in Minnetonka too. We always put out ECFE when the preschool catalog comes out in January or whenever, and so we put in there the classes that, like, the toddler, the baby, those things that we're really sure about, who's sure of anything right now, but and then in the summer we'll fill in with kind of the fuller the plan is to fill in with all of the the rest of the ECFE classes, but we're operating as if we're going to have normal slate of normal sized classes.
that's awesome.
And we're getting signups already. Our summer,
Of course you are.
Our summer classes that all got canceled last summer, we're offering again, and we're offering them still half size, kind of in COVID terms, but those are all that are probably going to run. They've got some good signups already.
That's great to hear. It's so great. I also had a conversation with, is it Katie Smith, Susan, this week, who's working on the outstate parent ed curriculum for programs that are languishing a little bit, and actually just this morning recorded something to send over to her. But she shared that they are doing like a statewide kind of SOS for ECFE programs outstate, because and who was it? It was Christy who brought this 2 weeks ago and emailed us all about this, right? So you can probably say more. I had a delightful conversation with her. She's a hoot if you haven't talked to her, and was super energized to support that effort. So, but talking to her made me feel worried that ECFE is not in great shape statewide.
Sarah, I felt that too a little bit. Because I know some of you were on those meetings too. I did kind of have heart palpitations a little bit. Even though here that's not the case at all. I don't know what I'm going to do right now, because I have so many people wanting to come to ECFE and all this, like I feel sad right at the second, because if there was more space and more teachers, I think I could fill more classes right now. I have so many. And so when they were talking, when I was on that, I think it was that first meeting with Katie or the second, it made me think that, like, oh my gosh, am I the only person that has like classes going right now? But then I know our group, and I was like, wait a minute, there's stuff happening. And then, anyway, but yeah, there is, and we can do this. And it's not that it's irrelevant anymore. Yes, people need us more than ever. So that's how I feel.
Is this judgment coming from COVID time? Like, are they just saying that ECFE, I mean, obviously, duh, things are not great right now. Families don't want to come. Is this a trend that they've been looking at?
Well, I think and those of you who've met with Katie, speak up, but she's worried about, like, space has gotten taken in the service of social distancing, other programs. She's worried about reclaiming, I think, schools being able to reclaim that space. Parent eds have been redeployed, getting parent eds like deployed back into ECFE, the heart of ECFE programming. So, because once it's gone.
And that tricky part, there's that tricky thing where they could take funding, they could take that early childhood funding and put it into the general fund type of thing. And I don't think it was supposed to actually work the way it did, but I know that happened to some ECFE programs where they lost their funding, and if there's not a thing that says that has to go back, I don't know. Have you heard of 'cause
Legislation.
that? Yeah.
That was part of the governor's emergency order, so I think it expires, but you're right. They can take ECFE money to use for other purposes. They can take your space, they can reallocate to childcare, emergency childcare needs, but you know, some of those needs are gonna go away. And our district used our staff and our money to provide emergency childcare last March. But we got a commitment from our community ed director and our superintendent that our money would stay intact. So it's tough though. You're right. It's tough in a lot of districts where that commitment wasn't there pre-pandemic and it just was kind of exploited during the pandemic.
And I think right now, Sarah, what you're kind of talking about, your heart kind of races when you hear the leadership, the people who are advocates having concerns, because then it feels like it's the whole thing. It can sound like that. It can come across as the whole thing versus both end. There are those that are flourishing and there's those that are suffering. And that's, I think, what gets me nervous is what's being said to the legislature, what's all being said at MDE, and that's what gets a little nerve wracking for me, at least. I don't know about the rest of you too, and I hope that all are being represented and not just one side. Yeah, because I think we can make this through, but we need those voices to be loud too.
Yeah, because I talked to somebody, my old coordinator here, like the job that I have now, she is working at MDE now. And then it was really interesting because then, I mean, I know our call last week, I had to go, but I mean, we were talking about that advocacy part and how we have to be loud, like you were saying, and get it out there. And it was so weird because she called me then that night and basically said, yeah, you have to make sure, don't take it for granted that ECFE is going to be there, and you have to make sure that people, that the state knows that we're not hanging out, stay-at-home moms just sitting around drinking coffee. And I don't get that. Like, stop saying that. Stop saying that. Like, that's becoming like some weird like tagline or something. Like, no. Anyway, sorry.
I think that's been a weird tagline for a long time. And honestly, it's got to be being perpetuated by people who have literally never sat in a parent ed class, like ever. They're just imagining, okay, you have your kids play and then you get to go hang out with the other grown-ups. But they have, yeah, same. It's just ridiculous, but it has to be people who haven't had any experience with it themselves.
Well, and I'll speak from, I mean, that it also, I heard it at the university. So as someone who was advocating to hold on to and build the parent ed license program, I would get pushback about, well, where are they going to teach? They're going to teach in ECFE. Oh, isn't that just like a stay-at-home mom coffee thing, right? And almost like, so then why would you need the parent ed license? Why would we need that program, right? And so the problem with that being out there is that it is a systemic thing, right? So if it starts to affect not only funding for local programs, but it also affects the funding and the viability of the teacher education programs, right? One of the things I was going to say about, because Monica reached out to me too about creating content and creating a video that could be used. And I think that, and I haven't part of your meetings. And so, but my guess is that it is that, if you think about, let's go back before COVID, right? It was ECFE and operations of ECFE was kind of patchwork around the state anyway, right? Depending on the location and depending on the size of the program and the funding in the program and things like that, because there would be one parenting educator across a whole region, right? And then you would have other areas where you would have like 5 or 6 parenting educators. So and then COVID just makes it worse. It just makes a already fragile system in some places even more fragile, right? And so, and which is what happens when that happens, right? Is that it's like all hands on deck, and that's more of the idea that I got, was that the message from Katie and Monica, this group that's putting this together, is we're not bailing out a sinking ship. We're just acknowledging that there are areas of vulnerability around the state. Northern Minnesota, or some of those areas where it's been harder to have, to find in place and maintain parenting educators, is one of those places, yet the family still needs services. And so we are gathering people around the state, professionals around the state, to create content to help fill that need. It doesn't mean that ECFE isn't needed. It doesn't mean that it can't get stronger, but for right now, right, we are working together. And my sense is those kind of messages have not been very strong, because when you have a vulnerable kind of fractured system, it's really hard to work in a centralized way, because it's so demanding on the day-to-day local level that people are just doing whatever they can to kind of have the highest quality program they possibly can. So I think it's continuing the system that kind of was there before COVID. It's acknowledging that COVID is extreme, right, and is making a challenging system even more challenged, but that people are banding together to kind of fill some needs, to keep a high quality program and to meet the needs. And that's the thing, I think, is sending that message of meeting the needs of families and children wherever they happen to be in the state of Minnesota. And the last thing I'll say about that is, it's my opinion, when have I been short of offering that we do need to have this system between practice and preparation, because one of the problems that I see is that you have shrinking programs because you have fewer numbers of eligible parenting educators. You have more need in some areas of the state, and especially parenting educators of color. And that's a real challenge that a lot of legislators will say, and this isn't just parenting educators, it's teachers too. I mean, I hear it in our college all the time, is that the teachers that we're cranking out from the University of Minnesota don't look like the students that they're teaching. And so, I would really advocate for more of a partnership between the districts and the universities, so that we can't do anything about tuition structure, right? But we can partner to help more potential parenting educators in rural areas, parenting educators of color, right, to be able to pay the tuition and get through the program so that we can meet those needs, right? So anyway, just my little song about systemic change.
Well, Becca, I just have to, we have this huge spot on our wall outside our classroom that has nothing on it. And I was like, I got to get an ECFU picture up. So I was looking at the pictures and I was like, ooh, all mom group, all mom group, all mom group. But this is the one I chose. Oops, it went off. Hang on. So this, hopefully it zooms in, but I had 2 dads, one of which was from Kenya, 2 grandmas, a teen mom, and one mom in a same-sex marriage. I mean, this is my most diverse class. And so that is the poster I chose for the face of ECFE, because I did not want it to be just this white mom, white kid look. So, and
it's not, that was my point. It's not just a problem with funding and all these like higher level things. It's also then who signs up, right? Because if people feel like they're not going to fit in, or it's not going to be a place for them,
right,
they're not going to, or if they feel like it's a waste of their time, they're not going to. So you need to see that diverse face of, this is for everyone who parents. Exactly. Whatever that is. If you're grandma, but you're parenting, this is for you. That's for dad. It's for mom. It's for everybody.
Yeah. So it was, so that's
awesome picture.
It's 16 by 20. I printed it at Walgreens. So
That's great.
yeah, I got to run though, guys. Got to go get myself a shot. So I'll see you later.
Go do
Good
that.
luck, Ellen.
Thanks.
See you next week.
Susan, I love everything that you just said about all of the systems and about partnering with districts and about how can we help people fund themselves through the program so that we can have more diverse teachers in our cities and towns and communities. And I just love everything you said about that. So how can we do that? Question one. And question two is like, I agree with everything you said about it's just white middle-class moms sitting around drinking coffee, but look at us. We need this time. Parents need that time. So what if it's white middle-class moms sitting around drinking coffee? They need us too. And so maybe we need to, I don't know, embrace that. Like, yes, it is. And it's this, and this. I don't know.
It's that holding two truths at the same time, right?
Yes.
That one can still be true without it negating any value, right? It doesn't mean that everybody benefits from parenting education, right? This is what we're talking about, including middle-class white women, right? So everybody, and part of the education structure, one of the things I love about ECFE is it's not just a lecture, right? It's discussion, it's sharing of values and ideas, and it's getting support, which so often in our modern day, we don't have familial support in the same way. We don't have community support in the same way. And ECFE is often the only place that parents find that community and support in their work as parents.
Yep.
So yeah, I would get on a big soapbox, but I would say in your question of like, how can it be done? When I was on the Parent Advisory Council for St. Paul's ECFE as a parent, we set up a fund from our fundraising that went towards, we actually had a para in St. Paul for ECFE who was Black and Somali speaking and amazing, and everybody loved her, and she was actually really interested in pursuing getting her license, but it was like overwhelming figuring out how to do that, and we paid for, I want to say, like half of her tuition. So it took like private, in a way, support. It was parents, the advisory council coming together and saying, no, this is totally of value to us.
Yeah.
I love that so much, Becca. I love it.
Yeah,
So
it's gotta, as a representative from higher ed, it can happen. The conversations need to happen. I mean, we had conversation with Minneapolis Public Schools because they had also, I think 1 or 2 paras, and trying to figure out, part of it for them was just, you guys get this, like what accounting structure could they use within their school district to align these monies to help pay, sometimes the private stuff of fundraising, it's just like, here's a check, go to it, right? And I think that it's also encouraging, I don't think Minnesota does a very good job with this at all, but encouraging the university to work more systems that it can to recognize, and this gets back to the conversation earlier today about ABE, right? Adult basic ed, that, let's face it, adults are not valued like children are when it comes to programs for adults, education for adults. But when you look at the adult learning theory and research, it's just fascinating, right? And adult ed gets into that. But anyway, there are structures within the university to support minority learners, and we earmarked about 10 years ago some funds so that students in the program could apply if they were going to be working in a rural area, or if they were a student of color, and so that it could encourage more. So I think it's showing interest in partnering with the higher education structures, right? Identifying what it's going to take to help get this, get the person through. And let me just put it out there, is just that it's more than money. It is more than money. All of you went through the program. Half of you went through our program. I was contacted about 2 years into my leadership from a woman in, I think, Indiana. And she was a real entrepreneur, and she had all of these. She was trying to get a whole bunch of CDAs about early childhood teachers to like, she was going to find the money to send them all to the university so they could take a bunch of courses and stuff. And more of our conversation was, how do we get them the technology? How do we get them childcare so that they can focus on their classes? Right. I mean, so it's also really being very thoughtful to the life structure of students to be able to complete the program. Right. But it can happen. And it's just been killing me that we haven't had more structured conversations between either the school districts or with MDE or with Menafee and higher ed. And this isn't just Minnesota, it's the other places that do the license, but it can happen. It really can happen. I saw it sorry, I'm about done. In Maryland, there was a big challenge for childcare teachers who would they had 2 years, right? They had an associate's degree, and the regs changed, and they all had to have 4-year teaching degree or 4-year bachelor's degrees. And the big problem was articulation. How do we take the coursework that they've had so far and then work with a University of Maryland or, Towson State or something like that so that their credits work? And it was like a 2-day meeting. Everybody just got out their papers and their syllabi and stuff like that. And by the time it was done, it was completely articulated so that if Jennifer had done her 2-year degree at this community college, she could come to me at the university. I could sit down and go, this course works here, this course works here, and this is what you need, and you'll have your 4-year degree, right? But we work in silos and we don't work in systems that talk very well together. So it can happen. We just have to have the will and the way, and we certainly know technology can help us do it. So
it's interesting that you say this, Susan, because I don't know if anybody watches New Amsterdam, but it's awesome. And their first episode for this season was him, the director of the hospital, calling all these other hospitals saying, do you have this medicine? We're out over here. We're out of here. No, we don't have it. We don't have it. And then at the end, he's getting them all on the same phone call, and they're all connecting their silos, and they're making things happen. And they're like, oh, well, I didn't know you needed that. I've got tubing. We can do tubing for respirators. We got that. Oh, and I've got this drug because we're managing most of the elderly, and they have all this whatever. And at the end, he goes, why haven't we done this before? And one of the big themes was, let's not go back to the way it was. What can we do today that's different because we've done things differently now? And what can we change? So say no to the silos.
Yeah.
You just got me excited. I love connecting what I watch on TV to reality. Anyway, and that you brought up the word silos was just my killer. That just like sent me over the edge. I have to say that out loud. So I think this is the time. I think this is a great time. We have agency, we have motivation. We just can't be lumbered back to sleep and just let it go past and not do something a little differently. So if we all take a little bit of that energy, that's going to make a difference. I'm excited about it. So way to go, Susan.
Well, like I said, I think it can happen. Can I share a 40 minutes video to play us out? This came through on Twitter, and I immediately thought of you guys. But so okay, I'm going to share my screen here. Here it is. Maybe you've seen this. Here it is. This is 17 minutes. Hold it. Let me stop this. Can I stop it? Yeah. This is a Zoom of, not a Zoom, but this is fast forward of 17 minutes. So this is not all night. This is just 17 minutes of this baby sleeping with the mom. I don't know if there's any, here we go. I don't know if there's any video or any audio. Can you see that?
And we wonder why moms are tired.
Seriously. Isn't that great?
You have to share. I have to share that. You have to share that with me. I have to.
Please.
I will.
I have to share this.
Okay, that's it.
Oh my God, I'm crying. Oh my God.
Like
Oh my God.
like
Wonder why
anything on
parents could
social
use, parents
media,
could
like
use
I'm
some adult
watching and I
support the
am
next day.
laughing my head off. But what you can't do is read the comments. So I thought, well, I'll read the comments because people are going to be laughing too. And the very first one was, JFC people, stop judging. And they were all like, you know, I'm a doctor and you shouldn't be sleeping with a baby with a blanket, you know, and it was like all kinds of judgy about the mom. And it's just, and someone's going, this is a kid who's just restless. This is 17 minutes, you know, anyway, I knew you guys would appreciate it. So, but here, let me get here, I'll do this really, really fast because it's right here in my.
You know, while you're doing that, that is the one thing I think, like, no matter where our parents are from or what kind of whatever right now, that is what they need. That whole judgerson thing is redonkulous. Like, no one feels normal anymore. Like, they all feel like they're doing everything wrong. Like, and I get COVID stressed them out too, but like this whole, like, I'm never right, I'm always wrong. Well, my God, of course you are, because if you ever posted anything anywhere, apparently it just gives everybody, I would never, it terrified me to post something. Like, I don't know where those people live. That's reality. I love that. Oh, that made my heart so happy. Thank you.
So I just posted the link. It'll take you into Twitter to see it, but you won't be infected by the Twitterverse just to watch it. But a nice change of pace from puppies and kittens and rescue videos that I usually watch.
And you wonder why people are watching kittens, right? You wonder why those are the biggest sellers out there. And maybe we should take a clue from, anyway.
Oh, it's brutal. It is, especially when it comes to parenting. It's brutal. So. Well, everybody, here we are. I'm going to play us off today. So thank you all. This has been another great conversation. And Greta, are you doing should I upload this?
Yeah, I suppose I will do that. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay,
And
everyone.
what she said was, do you want to do the chat? Like, that was like a half sentence.
Oh, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. And I go, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You know what we said.
So, I was thinking because there's not that much there, but anyway. So, okay.
Thanks, you guys.
All right.
I love you. You guys are amazing.
Love you too, Sarah. See you guys next week.
Half sentences and all. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Bye-bye, Sarah. Bye, Susan.